Are you rethinking your purpose in life? Being centered in a strong spiritual connection is more important now than ever. Hi, I'm Bryn, Blankinship, hypnotherapist, international instructor, and author. Each episode, I'll share my experiences with guiding spiritual regression clients into the afterlife and the soul lessons gained, prompting you to explore your own soul's journey and empowering you by shifting your perception of yourself and your place in this world. I want you to know that you're here by design, not by accident. You are not alone. You are loved. You are here on purpose, for a purpose. When you stand in your truth and fulfill your purpose, you support others in fulfilling theirs. If this intrigues you, stay tuned in as we explore. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today. And we're going to talk about something really exciting today. We're going to talk about mundane versus iconic past lives. All right. So what if one of your past lives, you weren't someone famous? Does that mean that that past life is insignificant? A lot of clients come in expecting that they're going to have a past life where they were a king or a queen or someone that's famous. And they're surprised when it goes somewhere else. So there's that misconception that every life is extraordinary, because you see people out in the world who, they're living these big lives, they're in public, everyone knows who they are, and not all lifetimes are like that. We often have to build up energy, learning towards a particular theme before we have a bigger life. The quieter lives are just as important. So I want to talk to you today about one of my case studies in Rich Martini's Flip Side, A Tourist Guide to the Afterlife, How to Navigate the Afterlife. And we were at Life Between Lives training, and Rich filmed me doing a session with my colleague, Maureen Bass. And Maureen, just to give you a little background on Maureen, she's also a hypnotherapist, Life Between Lives trained hypnotherapist, and she's from Eastern Europe. And we did this session, and let me just start out with, I was having some issues during the training with my throat, with my voice. They were doing something to the roof inside the hotel by my room, and I was inhaling a lot of fumes. So by the end of the training, I got through my lectures, I got through the parts that I was meant to do, but I barely had a voice left. And Rich had asked me to do this segment so he could record it. So what we did was do the segment, and then he wrote it out as his chapter in Flipside. So, it was a really important story that we wanted to make sure we included because of what we're going to talk about today. Okay, so Maureen goes back to a lifetime as Annika, I believe I'm saying that right. And this is in 1863 Russia. And she's a young woman who had been living in a small town, a village, and her mother died, and her father found her and came and got her and brought her to his wealthy estate. So there were a lot of family connections in that session from current life people that were tied to the people in the house once she moved into the estate. And so we also learned that her father was unable to marry her mother because she didn't come from a good family, and there was social pressure. But after the mother died, he took Anna in and let her be part of the house. So Anna, her personality was submissive, she was quiet, and she liked to read. She loved romantic novels. She loved Tolstoy, and she really lived through the stories that she would read about. And what happened with her, she fell in love. Well, let me back up for a second. Before her father came and got her, she was considering being a dancer in the theater and had come close to doing that. But then the father came. So that was something that would have given her a bigger life, but it didn't come to pass. And that's sort of a theme that happens in Anna's life. So she meets Alexander and she loves him. It's her fiance. They plan to marry, but he goes off to war and he doesn't come back because he dies. And so when Alexander died, she says, a part of me died with him. So she doesn't, she had dreams of a family and all the things that would come from being married to him. And that never came to pass. Her bigger life and her hopes and dreams didn't come to pass. So Anna was feeling very sad about herself, her life. She felt that her life was boring. She felt unfulfilled. And she watched her sisters marry and start their families. But Anna never moved on. She just stayed there in the house and she took care of her mother. And, that was her life. And she had everything. It was a really beautiful place and it had everything that you would need. It's just, she wasn't happy there. She felt unfulfilled. So when her father died, she was 53, and she actually had a moment of joy when not from his death, but she was now able to sell the estate. So she sold it. She was happy to leave that behind, and she moved to a little cottage in the country, had a rose garden, and this just made her very happy. The joy at just leaving all of that behind. And then at 61, not too many years later, she's walking from the village. Two men jump out, they stab her, attack her, and kill her. So she died before she really lived. She didn't have much. She didn't allow, let me just say this. She didn't allow herself to live because she had opportunities, but she just stayed stuck in her mental prison that she lived in for whatever reason in that life. So during the life review, her soul perspective shared with her that this was not a wasted life. This was a resting life. And there were lessons that were learned through that life. And one of the lessons was that she never truly explored herself. She never experienced deep love. She never allowed herself to love again, and that she really never stepped into her full potential. So these are the things that her soul was sharing with her about that lifetime. And there's a lot of connection to current life because she realized the parallels in current life. She's with the soulmate. She's with him. And in fact, he came forward in the session and reached out to her. And, they have a good life now together in this life. And so let me tell you a little bit about her current life. She grew up and moved to the US at some point and had a career in business and then became a hypnotherapist and started studying this kind of work and met her soulmate. And so she did all the things that she didn't do before. She took those risks. She, if you know Maureen, she is fire. And so she took the risks and she made a good life for herself. Now, her soul preparation in prep for her current life, they talked about how that was a resting lifetime for a much larger one. And that's when they shared the one that you're in is the one that you were preparing for. So that was the lifetime before this one that she's in. And, they explained that not every lifetime is meant to be for achievement. Some are meant for contemplation. Some quieter lives happen before a more challenging one, and what can appear mundane on the earth plane can actually be highly strategic from a soul level. So you can't judge a life, what we experience down here. You really can't judge that because it's exactly what your soul needs now because of the life it just lived and the life that it's about to live next. So there's stepping stones along the way that are going to help give pieces of the puzzle. And if I remember correctly, I think I believe her father in the past life taught her math. She didn't really use those skills, but she definitely used that in current life when she moved to the US for her business, um, her in the business world in New York City. So um, sometimes, clients will say, I'm a little disappointed in that life I'm exploring. I thought that was going to be a bigger life. I thought that was going to be different. Maybe they didn't know or think that they were going to be someone famous, but they were surprised that they had kind of a ordinary life. But sometimes it's done on purpose at a soul level so that you can choose limitation and build momentum for future growth. And you learn from the chances you don't take. You learn that in those past lives so that when you're faced with them in your next lifetime, you can choose a different outcome. Your soul has the opportunity to do that. So, as we went through the rest of the life review, her guide and her soul showed her how she's part of the bigger plan and that we all are, but that she was part of a much larger plan and that she is part of the light and that this is everywhere. So, this was a really important message for her. Her guide said, keep it as part of you and bring it back. The choices that you're making, do them with light. No matter the choice, make it with light. And that's really the message I want to get across to you today. When you're making choices, do them with light, do them with love, do them with intention, and you will build momentum in your inner light. Your soul light will shine out into those experiences. And, part of the bigger lesson that she was shown in that life, her guide Michael said, as hypnotherapists, our work is about the light. Light opens understanding. And ultimately, it matters less what we do and how we bring light into what we do. So that was the message from her guide. And there's nothing else but love and light. So that's really important to keep in mind when you are making choices. When you find yourself judging, don't judge others. You don't know. You don't know what they're going through, right? Don't judge yourself. You only know parts of the life that you're in. You don't know all the details that your soul lined up, why your soul chose these particular lessons for you now. I will tell you that we're in an accelerated period. And so you might feel like you're living many lifetimes in one life this go around because the energy of the earth has been shifting. We've been going through this curve of learning and helping to accelerate soul growth within the same lifetime keeps us from having to die, come back, and be born again and learn to read and write and, all the basic stuff before we can get to some of those lessons. So we kind of learn a lot of lessons and have those quantum leaps in these lives. And each one brings forward the knowledge and the wisdom that's going to help us now and for what we're building towards. And we are part of that bigger universal plan. We are part of the lesson and light. And so when we're sending judgment out to others, we're really judging that part of ourselves that we're taking issue with. So maybe explore that part of you that you're judging as being boring or being mundane or not doing enough, not being enough. And take some time to contemplate why you might feel that way. And it could be something that you're carrying over from a past life. Could be a lesson that you're working with now that's going to help you for the next part of the life that you're in or the next incarnation, right? But that judgment keeps things in a box. All of those judgy things that if you're judging others, then there's a part of yourself that you need to take a look at related to that same topic. And that was what was so important about this lifetime, because my client was judging the fact that here she's in this well-to-do family and she didn't, she kind of was submissive and she stayed back. She didn't take the chances. Once Alexander died, and she was still, excuse me, she was still very young when he died. And, had a lot of missed opportunity there. And then when she finally did take the chance and sell the house and move to the cottage and she was happy, something happened. And, she got to experience that fleeting joy, but that was it. So, as a hypnotherapist, Maureen got to work with clients. She is able to work with all the people, helping them move through their limitations, move through their blocks to help them find more joy, more fulfillment in their lives. And, she knows this from both sides of the coin, the lifetime with the risks not taken, and she knows it from the risks taken in current life, where she didn't do that. She just moved forward, and now she's actually doing spiritual art where she brings in the energy and paints it on canvas. So, and she's using a lot of things that she learned in current life from her father. Her father was a big teacher in that past life in a lot of ways, and her father in current life is a big teacher as well. So, the soul doesn't measure success by fame or achievement or drama, right? So it could be a quiet lifetime, and the soul will still experience all the lessons that it's meant to. And sometimes the most valuable life that we have is the one that's giving us the space to remember who we are before stepping into who we're becoming, to pick up skills and abilities. She loved to read. She loved to imagine and put herself into the stories. She loved to dance. So, it gave her a chance to explore the arts before moving into the healing art in current life. And as we consider those experiences in our current life that we think are mundane, they could be skill building opportunities for your soul before you incarnate into the next lifetime. Or if this is your last lifetime, maybe it's just the last time to get to experience those things before you move on to become a guide and start helping other souls in that way. So remember Anna's message. The lesson that her guides shared with her was whatever you do whatever you choose with. That's the important thing. Do whatever you do with light. Sorry, had a little glitch with the microphone here, y'all. So, as you're thinking about your lives, as you're thinking about the things that you enjoy doing, also think about what you enjoy doing when you're resting in your quiet times in your current life, because these are clues to things that you've done in other lifetimes or things that you will be doing more of in future lifetimes. Sometimes it's writing or fishing or needlepoint or, I don't know, all kinds of things that you might enjoy that you might consider mundane, but who knows? Cooking could be something that you do now because you want to feed your family. And then in your next lifetime, you might be the chef at the castle that is feeding, lots and lots of people. Had a client, that was their role. And I find it fascinating because it takes a lot of orchestration to feed that many people in basic times in an ancient castle that doesn't have all the amenities that we have now. So who would think that skill of cooking and cooking good food quickly could be a skill that would go on to a lifetime when that person is going to be a chef for the castle, right? You just never know. I discover sometimes when I do my own sessions, I'm surprised by some of the little things that I enjoy doing in current life that I don't really think of as being a thing, but they're traits that I've picked up from past lives. And it kind of all fits and it all makes sense. So when you're doing these things, whatever you're doing, remember to do them with love. And if you want to read more about Anna's story, we have a tourist guide on how to navigate the flip side by Rich Martini. And he did a really great job at capturing this session because Rich is a filmmaker. Rich is not a hypnotherapist. And he did a really great job at capturing it and then telling the story, and really great attention to detail too. All right. So I'm just checking. I had a couple of notes here, and I just wanted to make sure that I didn't miss anything about that lifetime. But really, oh yeah, there's one thing I wanted to point out. There was a place we will call this the planning space, and Morin's guide Between Lives took her to this place that had green grass and flowers and stars, and it had sunshine, and it even had a sunset with a bench for reflection. And we discovered that this is the place where you decide what you're going to do next. So they showed her the place where she was planning out the life that she was born into in current life. And that also was fascinating. Happen in a session in this order. A client may or may not go to some of those places. I mean, they're going to go to whatever they need at that time that they're doing the session. So this is really lovely for me to be part of that journey and to go to the place and watch her choose her next life and what she was going to do next. And there's something about a snowy hilltop looking kind of out over the landscape that it was really beautiful. So if you would like to learn more, you can check out the book. If you would like to listen to my previous episodes, you can check out my YouTube channel, Bryn Blankinship. If you want to know how to do this kind of work, if you want to be a hypnotherapist and work with clients and take them on these spiritual journeys, check out my website. We have a training coming up starting in September, October, and then this leads into the October, November trainings where you can get certified. And by the end of the year, moving into 2027, you can be a certified hypnotherapist and past life regressionist. And you can be doing this work and you can be facilitating these sessions for your clients. So I would love to have you in class. My website is brynblankinship.com. You can follow me on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Threads at Bryn Blankinship Author. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, we will see you. You've been listening to Afterlife Teacher, Soul Lessons bringing you full circle with Bryn Blankinship. Tune into Transformation Talk Radio for more discussions of the soul's journey across different lifetimes and soul lessons gained, helping you to consider the deeper reason you are here. Bryn shares her wisdom spanning 20 years of guiding spiritual regression clients into the afterlife and connecting them with their spiritual team and soul's purpose to bring them full circle, helping you gain insight into your own soul's purpose while supporting others in fulfilling theirs. Living in partnership with your soul, with less worry and greater trust, you can be in divine flow and thrive. For more information on becoming a certified hypnotherapist and regressionist and assisting with the global transformation taking place, visit brynblankinship.com.